150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a future.
So let's get to it. I got the heart of a champion. I got the heart of a champion. I got the heart of a champion, and I will not give up.
Give up while I've been fighting all my life just to get a little taste or a slice of that pie. I train hard to play hard. Even on my off days, I stay on to rise above the weakness that I pray on. I'm over for the sunlight till the day's gone. The early bird gets the craze, and the bookworm gets the brain, and I'ma get it all.
And I've been waiting all my life just for this one night to show I can do it. So let's get to it. I got the heart of a champion. I got the heart of a champion. I got the heart of a champion. I will not give up.
Hello and welcome to our coverage of the 33rd Annual Harbor Invitational hosted here at UMass Boston. It's the first ever meeting between these two Boston schools, Fisher College, an NAIA school, and UMass Boston out of the Little East Conference. The Beacons looking for their 9th overall title and first since 2012. This Fisher side trying to become another first-time winner. Last year was Daniel Webster over the Beacons in the title game. This year, the Falcons looking to earn a trophy in this, the first year under head coach Rob Bluen. We'll take a commercial break, and then we'll continue along in our pregame show right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
And welcome back into the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. We're back from the holidays. Hope you had a great one. UMass Boston has had a lot of success over the past couple of years. 5 straight trips to the championship game of the Harbor Invite, but looking for that first title since 2012. One guy who's going to have a big tournament, it's Mike Boyd, one of the many freshmen who've seen a lot of time here in the early going. Boyd averaging over 30 minutes per game. He's top 3 on the team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, and is also the team's top 3-point shooter, shooting 44% from distance. A Malden Catholic product. He had a lot of success in high school, and despite only being just shy of 6 feet, he's one of the Beacons' bigger players. UMass Boston's going to go small throughout this tournament. They're going to face some very big bodies. This Fisher side goes up to 6'8", 6'9". Player on Emerson College will play in our second semifinal game tonight, stands at 7'1", but the Beacons hope that their young and very fast lineup will be enough to take them through this tournament. We'll take a look at the highlights from the Beacons season opener right now. It was UMass Boston earning a 66-52 win over Norwich. So the Beacons improved to 1-0. They now sit at 2-0 heading into this weekend's tournament. welcome back to Boston, Massachusetts. It's a beautiful day here on the Harbor campus as UMass Boston looks to get a victory against Fisher College. Joined by my color commentator, Jeff Ebbs. And Jeff, when you look at this matchup, just first thing off the stats, you've got a team averaging over 80 points per game and a Beacons team averaging 72 who hasn't been scoring at as high of a clip as they would like. We could be in for a real track meet between these two sides.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of up and down, no doubt. I think the Beacons early on, I think they're having a lot of trouble making shots, making them from the outside in particular. But I think that's going to be the nature of this team a little bit early on. They're going to be really young, really athletic. They're going to want to get to the basket, and I think that was one of the biggest adjustments they made against Wheelock in that second game as they took 17 less threes and really got to the basket, which they needed to because it was a tight game.
One other big thing to watch, this is a much bigger Fisher team that rebounds the ball pretty well, plus 7.2 on the year. The Beacons at -6. That could be a huge difference maker if the Beacons don't rebound collectively versus just one or two guys.
Yeah, agreed. I think, my thing with this Beacons team, too, is that if they can keep it that close, losing by an average of 6 right now, in a sense, that's almost a win for a team that's this small. Obviously, you love to win the rebound battle, but if they can keep it close within 5 or 10 at the size that they're at and the way they create turnovers, that's really not a bad number this year. And they're going to have to get some contributions from some bigger guys down the road.
Right now we'll look at the team leaders for these two sides. And for UMass Boston, it starts with a lot of those underclassmen. Charles Mitchell, #1 on the team in points per game, to a sophomore and a freshman right behind him. Dayson Sinelli has taken a huge step forward. You look at the shooting percentage especially. He's taking some of those high percentage shots we didn't see Dayson take a year ago, getting to the rim and shooting extremely well from the free throw line as well.
Yeah, Dayson is an exciting kid to talk about because he is really just scratching the surface of who he can be as a player. He's a great body. He's about 6'3", 6'4", long and athletic, and he's just really starting to understand the game and come into his own offensively a little bit. And as he does that, learns to kind of take better shots. He has a chance to be a special player in his 4 years here. He's really just the beginning of that.
On the other side, this is a much more experienced Fisher team. A lot of junior college transfers and players from across the country. Some of the top scorers, Brandon Redbird actually should be #1. That's a mistake made by the producer, myself. But Anthony Kellum's another top player. And when you talk about an experienced side like Fisher, how could that cause the Beacons problems? Not just giving up size, but maybe a team that has a little bit more experience, not playing together, but playing at the college level.
Yeah, it's going to be good for him. I think a lot of these games early on are going to be good for him because I think this Beacons team, as young as they are, I think they have all the talent in the world to be who they want to be down the road. But early on, they're going to struggle with maturity a little bit. Not necessarily from an effort or a discipline standpoint, but you just have to go through some bad or some rough experiences to kind of learn who you're going to be. And I think they're going to go through that early on, but these are the games you need early on to make that happen. So we'll see if Fisher puts some pressure on them early.
We'll take a look right now at the Fisher College coach, a first-year head coach. It's Rob Bluen. Bluen, a former assistant on this Fisher roster. He spent the past 6 years on the staff of David Lindbergh, a 12th-year head coach who actually retired after this last season. Bluen didn't play college basketball at Westfield State, but is familiar with the D3 NAIA level. And this is a guy who's looking to take a step forward. The program went 20-9 a year ago. Be interested to see some of his in-game adjustments for a young guy with a young staff.
Yep. The other thing, too, about a young coach early in his first season, too, is you're going to get that team's best every single game because they're going to play for him. They're going to make sure that his transition is easy, especially as an experienced ball club. So you're going to you might get a Fisher team here that looks like they're in mid-season form. So, again, just another challenge for the Beacons today, I think.
Now on the Beacons side, it's Jason Harris in his 3rd year with UMass Boston, progressively making steps. This has been one of the more talented rosters he's been able to field. Off to a 2-0 start, looking for that first Harbor Invite title. And one of the things that Jason Harris does best is his in-game adjustments. It's been a real fun thing to watch over the past couple seasons.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Coach Harris and just the way that he handles the young roster, the way he coaches the game, and every game kind of takes on its own personality. He just does such a good job of molding his guys into his style and what that game demands. And I think he's the perfect coach for this young team, too, because they're going to have to grow up in a hurry, but he's just great at it.
We're going to take a brief commercial break, then we'll be back with the starters and the keys to the game as UMass Boston and Fisher just minutes away from tip.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
Welcome back to Boston. Seth Renski joined by Jeff Ebbs, the UMass Boston Athletic Performance Coach. And Jeff, you're a former member of this men's basketball program. Yep. This is a tournament that can be really difficult for players and coaches because you eat so much on Thanksgiving. Despite having that early practice, probably not feeling 100% yourself and probably not exactly where you want to be in terms of basketball shape.
Yeah, it's got some good things, some bad things about it as far as the scheduling goes. I think some of the negatives are exactly what you said, is you're out of basketball for, sometimes as much as 48 hours, and it's tough to mentally check back in. Some guys like the time away. They get that Thursday off. Sometimes they come back the next day ready to play. So I think you'll get a good sense for what game it is pretty early.
Right now we'll take a look at the starters for Fisher. They're going with the group they've used for the majority of the season. It's Brandon Rembert. He'll play as one of the team's guards, a junior out of Rowan College, a junior college down in New Jersey. Leads the team in points and assists. Also first in turnovers, the guy who's averaging about 5 assists and 4 turnovers per game. Also first in steals. Anthony Kellum, the senior transfer out of College of the Desert. That's out in L.A. He's been a very good ad for this team. Jamonte Thompson, third-year player with the program after transferring from LaSalle. DeAndre Pennington, a senior from Minnesota West Community College. And Michael Blake Green was actually at Daniel Webster a year ago on a team that won this Harbor Invite, but he didn't play in that championship game. Right now we'll give you the Beacon starters, take a commercial break, and then be back with the keys to the game.
Ty Lee, sophomore guard from Boston, Massachusetts.
Charles Mitchell, shooting guard, freshman, Roxbury, Mass.
Dave Cicinelli, sophomore guard / forward, Boston, Massachusetts.
Michael Boyd, freshman, guard, Malden, Mass.
Kevin Lewis Jean, senior, forward, at Park, Mass.
National anthem is over. About to get the starters for this matchup. We'll take a look at some of the keys that I identified, Jeff. And realistically, this Beacons team is going to have to do a lot of this stuff all season long. But when you have such a small roster with so many guys under 6 feet tall, with no players really over 6'5" in the regular rotation, you have to rebound as a group. Playing fast but under control, I think, might be the most important thing for this team. Just because when it comes to pure athleticism, they probably have more than any other team they'll face, but that doesn't mean that speed is always going to benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, it's a tough style of play. I think sometimes when you see teams get up and down, mistakes sometimes will almost kind of become okay. And I know that's not kind of who Coach Harris is. It's going to be a real challenge for them to play fast and play up and down and get good shots, but limit their turnovers. To me, it's actually one of the most impressive things in the first 2 college games. For a lot of these young guys, only 20 turnovers over the first 2 games. Probably not a sustainable number, but if they can keep it between 12 and 15 for most of the year, that's going to be a really good number.
That leads to our third key to the game: take advantage of turnovers. Despite having a lot more experience, this Fisher team is averaging 19.8 turnovers per game through their first 6 games, so the Beacons should be able to turn them over. They just have to take advantage of those turnovers. About to get the opening tip-off, and Jeff, just can't focus enough on how impressive this 2-0 start is. The Beacons haven't played the toughest schedule, but the fact that right now UMass Boston's playing 6 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and 2 seniors, one of which, actually both of those seniors, weren't necessarily playing a ton last year, and then you have Iser Barnes, who sort of has that 5th-year senior status. It's very impressive that UMass Boston's had this much success against teams that had a lot of veterans, if not a lot of talent, to match the Beacons.
Yeah, and I can tell you too, a lot's going to be made about their size, but I think one good thing that their size does give them, or I should say lack thereof, is they have a lot of interchangeable pieces. Gives you a lot of flexibility, particularly on the defensive end, to be able to switch everything out on the perimeter. So they're going to be able to do that, contest a lot of shots, and they should be a really tough defensive team, and that's going to keep them in a lot of games early on.
UMass Boston, the home whites with the blue numbers. Fisher looks to be in the Road blues with the gold numbers and white trim as UMass Boston will go with Ty Lee, Charles Mitchell, Michael Boyd, Kevin Lewis-Jean, and Dason Sinelli. Beacons bringing in an all-Massachusetts roster. On the other side, you look at this Fisher team, not a member of the NCAA, an NAIA school that has players from the West Coast and Puerto Rico and Australia. I gotta do camera because Roxy was late. Beacons win the opening tip, and we're underway. Ty Lee on the ball for UMass Boston. Lee giving it off up top to Sinelli. Now it's Boyd. Boyd into the corner. Has Charles Mitchell, who'll back it up with 17 on the shot clock. Mitchell takes a deep three off the front of the rim, no good. And the rebound into the hands of the Falcons. Fisher sets up against the Beacons man-to-man. Controlling it up top. The Beacons bench calling out directions. Kicked out up top. This is the Fisher team that shoots just 29% from distance. A little bit of love from the glass there, and it's an early 2-0 lead for Fisher.
And that's okay right there. That's a good contest. Stopped him about 10 feet away from the bucket, made him shoot over the top. It's not a bad shot.
Lee, the handoff over for Mitchell. Back to the near side for Boyd, who had 18 in the Beacons' season opening win over Norwich. Lee, not much of a shooter. Pass first point guard. The handoff to Boyd. Looks to drive. Tried to get down low for Sinelli. It's stolen away. 3-on-2 the other way. And a pull-up jumper from about 10. Early 4-0 start for this Fisher side in the opening minute and 11.
And we talked about it, Seth. Turnovers are just going to be a huge part of this Beacons team early. They can't afford those 3-on-2, 3-on-1 runouts in transition.
Ball caught up top by Sinelli. He's been one of the Beacons' better post players despite being listed as a guard. Hands it off for Mitchell, 0 for 1 from distance. Boyd fakes the three, gives it over into the corner for Lee. Kevin Lewis-Jean can hit a shot from that distance. Bit too strong there, and it's a chance for Fisher to extend this early lead. Chance for a three from the wing. Good close down there by Lee. Wide open two from distance, and it's 6-0. Fisher's hit each of their first three shots.
Now, Seth, with this small roster, it's critical that they stop penetration one-on-one. You don't want a lot of blow-bys and fly-bys where you have to come and help. They'll end up in rotation, run into a lot of trouble like that.
Boyd has to pick up his dribble for Sinelli. Just over 2 minutes in. The Beacons trail by 6. Lewis-Jean with the left-hand hook. Too strong, long rebound, tapped out. And the Beacons should have a chance to control it, but Sinelli can't quite handle it, and it'll go back to the Falcons. Early change for the Beacons. It's going to be Boyd heading to the bench, replaced by Charlie Mitchell, and Bernard Taylor will replace Dason Sinelli. Beacons also made another change. It's Iser Barnes in there for Charles Mitchell. So the Beacons with 3 early changes in the opening minute and 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Fisher looking to extend this out to a 3-possession lead here. And there's a travel. Nice work from Kevin Lewis-Jean. It's 6-0 in favor of Fisher.
I have no doubt that one-on-one penetration is part of those early changes right there. You can see Coach wasn't very happy about it.
Iser Barnes, an all-defensive team honoree a year ago. Charlie Mitchell, a very strong defensive player. It's kicked over for Lee, up top for Taylor, who can hit the three. Had a 0-point performance the other day against Wheelock. Barnes drives, finds Lewis-Jean down low, and the Beacons are on the board thanks to a pair of their seniors.
Now that's what you need right there. It's the first time the Beacons have gotten penetration into the paint, get an easy bucket. They're going to have that on a more regular basis.
Controlled up top by Rembert. He's been quiet in the opening couple of minutes, coming off a season-high 23 points. 3 from the corner, way too strong. Lee on the rebound. Beacons looking to push. Lee looking for numbers, has Barnes down low. Barnes struggles with the catch, goes up amongst the trees, and he's made an immediate impact. Back-to-back buckets, an assist, and they're the lane, and the Beacons are within 2.
Now you see it right there, Seth. You talked about it earlier. That's their game right there. Defend, rebound, get out in transition. They don't want to play in the half-court a lot early on.
DeAndre Pennington looking to drive into the corner. 3 is up from Jamonte Thompson, and he can't get the bucket to fall.
Here it is again. Get it out, run.
Lee had Barnes in the corner, elects to hold on to it, finds Lewis-Jean up top. He's an early 0 for 2. Barnes is feeling it. The corner 3 off the mark. Rebound in and out of the hands of Thompson. Almost throws it away there. Rembert able to collect, and it'll go the way of the Falcons. And off up top for Thompson, looking to drive, gets around Barnes, and he gets a little bit of a roll underneath Kevin Lewis-Jean. Jamonte Thompson third-year member of this Fisher team. The lone player has been there that long. Out of Apopka, Florida, originally spent time at LaSalle College, just down the street. Long two from Louis Jean, gets it to fall. And the Beacons back within 2.
He's worked tremendously on that shot over the last few years. That's a shot he can hit pretty consistently. He can stretch it out to about 18 feet and hit it with some consistency.
Louis Jean had 10 in the Beacons opener, did not score the other night at Wheelock in a Beacons 3-point win. Did not play with the Beacons a year ago, but a big add after UMass Boston lost their top 2 bigs to start the years. We'll get a timeout, first media timeout of half number 1. UMass Boston, slow start, but they're back within 2 here with 15:35 to go in the half.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
(8-6) Fisher here, just about 5 minutes in. Seth Dorensky joined by Jeff Ebbs. And Jeff, you talked about it immediately. The Beacons unable to stop the dribble penetration. The Beacons bring in Iser Barnes, one of their better defenders, Bernard Taylor, a longer defender, and Charlie Mitchell, and immediately UMass Boston's done a better job defensively, and those players have also sparked the offense as well.
Yeah, with these two teams in particular, I kind of see the same game on both ends of the floor. The first couple of possessions, you see Fisher come down, they get penetration, they get a foot in the paint, they get some easy baskets. The Beacons, on the other hand, the first couple possessions, they would get a couple ball reversals with no penetration, ends up in a contested 3. That's not really a game they want to play.
It'll be Fisher's ball out of the timeout. New 30 on the shot clock. 15:35 to play in the half. Ball into the hands of the very big Michael Blake Green. And Blake Green is going to be called for his second travel already. Blake Green is a big body in there. Stands at 6'7", was a member of that Daniel Webster team that beat the Beacons last year in the Harbor Invite. Just so tall, so long, so athletic. I think the Beacons were probably after Blake Green, but unable to get the Daniel Webster product. Daniel Webster, of course, closed down after last season, so all of their players were looking for new homes. Barnes up top, straight away for 3. In and out there. Taylor tries the tip, can't finish, and it's into the hands of Thompson. Might have been an instance where if Taylor just tried to bring it down, he would have had a better effort there instead of the tip. Good penetration here from Thompson. He's had some success early on. It's Blake Green, the jumper, a little bit short, and Ty Lee brings down the rebound. Lee in transition will look to go all the way, kicks it out. Louis Jean looking for a second straight jumper. He's got 4 in the early going. The Beacons are all tied up.
And that's a nice under control attack of the basket in transition for a nice easy shot. Last year, that's a shot that he might have forced or tried to get all the way to the basket. He does a great job coming to a jump stop, make the right pass to the short corner.
2 substitutes, 1 for each side. James Hawkins will replace Louis Jean, who has the hot hand. On the other side, Blake Green will be replaced by the equally tall Joshua Grates, a freshman out of Adelaide, Australia. 6'6", attended the University of South Australia for high school. And he has had a very strong freshman season, averaging 6.5 points thus far. Bernard Taylor for 3, drains it, and the Beacons have their first lead at 11-8.
And again, you see it starts with Lee getting into the paint, getting early penetration. Really impressive to me about him is he is always under control. He doesn't play a fast game. He's always under control. He knows who he is. Makes a lot of great decisions from the guard spot.
Rembert a little bit short. The Beacons with the rebound in the hands of Taylor. Lee looks to push once again. Barnes asking for help, finds Hawkins, the Bridgewater State transfer. We'll see his former school in the semifinal game later on today. Bridgewater State and Emerson. Hawkins from the free throw line, too strong, and Rembert the rebound. The other player into the game, Malik Tavares, a late substitute, sophomore out of Providence. Picks up his dribble. Charlie Mitchell couldn't quite get there. Rembert kicks near side for Thompson. Thompson drives on Taylor over a Beacon, and we're going to get a block call on Hawkins, a chance for an N1 and a potential tie game.
And I thought his position there was actually pretty good. He had the right idea on the help side. I think those heels might have been inside the circle.
Amazingly, we're almost 6.5 minutes in, and that's the first foul of half number 1 for either side. Beacons had a lot of foul trouble the other night at Wheelock. Both Louis Jean and Hawkins, their top 2 big men, both collected 4 fouls and were limited to well under 20 minutes. got a tie game after Thompson, who has had a lot of success driving, was able to knock down the free throw after the basket. Lee from the corner, doesn't like to shoot threes. Dribbles it out with 17 on the shot clock. Finds Hawkins, who just missed a jumper on his last trip down, and he's going to be called for the travel. So the Beacons back-to-back scoreless possessions, and we're going to see more substitutes coming in for this Fisher side. Looks like it's Mina Yakub, sophomore guard out of Clearmont, Florida. Was on the roster last season, didn't play, and he'll come in for the first time today, averaging 13.6 minutes a game. Rembert into the corner. Good drive from Tavares, and grates the easy bucket. It's a really difficult cover there if you're Ty Lee. The Beacons didn't rotate, and it was Lee who stands at 5'9" against Grates, a 6'6" big man. Charlie Mitchell into the corner for Lee. Those two play together alongside Charles Mitchell at New Mission High School. Barnes around his screen, looking for Taylor. It's tapped out of bounds, and the Beacons will keep it with 11 seconds left on the shot clock.
See, what they really want to try to avoid is these possessions where you can see they're trying to create offense. They certainly have plenty of guys that can do it, that will get more comfortable, but right now you'd like to see them get most of their opportunities out of execution.
Kevin Lewis-Jean and Michael Boyd check back in. Two starters, Hawkins and Ty Lee to the bench. Charlie Mitchell will now man the point with 5. Mitchell gets it back, has to think about a 3, drives with 2. Boyd has to shoot it from the wing, too strong, long rebound, and it's collected by Yakub. Out ahead of the pack, it's Malik Tavares. Player trailing the pack was Rembert, and that probably helped the Beacons as he's good in transition. Good drive from Tavares, lays it up short. Lewis-Jean going straight up to deny that shot. Mitchell has Taylor in transition, finds him on the wing. The 3, it rattles its way home. He's got an early 6, and the Beacons back ahead by 1.
Yeah, he can do that. He's another one just scratching the surface. So long and athletic. He likes to get to the basket, but he certainly can do that as well.
Taylor, a very different position, listed as a guard, but for the most part, he's going to play a lot of 4, maybe the 3 when he's lucky. Driving here is Yakub, the little floater well short, hit the side of the rim, but it ends up in the hands of Rembert as Taylor couldn't quite control. Another rebound, Barnes can't control it, and it's kept alive by Rembert into the hands of Grates. Into the corner, wide open, Tavares in front of the Beacons bench, and that's a possession the Beacons just can't have.
Yeah, those are the ones that are really going to frustrate you. Broken possessions. Fisher looked like they just wanted a little more right there. They end up with a wide open shot. Those are the ones that are going to frustrate Coach Harris.
And you see Harris talking to the bench. That might just be asking who's going to hustle today, as Charlie Mitchell can't quite connect from the free throw line. Already a 2-point lead. Out ahead of the pack is Grates, and that one will go out of bounds. It'll lead to another media timeout. So, Jeff, we've seen Fisher run out to an early lead. The Beacons have responded back and forth. How is your vision of how this game might end up changed at all here in the opening 8+ minutes?
I think this is going to be a grinded-out game. I think a lot of games for the Beacons, especially early on, are going to be grinded-out games. It's going to take them a while to get to kind of feel themselves better, play together, just get through the season more. Right now, they're going to have to grind out a lot of these games. Fisher, you mentioned some things about them, too. They have some long athletes, some long athletic guys. They're going to present some challenges for them. Beacons are settling a little bit right now on offense. That's really not where they want to be.
Right now, we'll take a look at some of the social media outlets you can follow UMass Boston on. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all at UMass Beacons. You can also check us out at beaconsathletics.com. An early 16-14 lead for the Falcons. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear.
Out of the timeout, controlled by Charlie Mitchell for Lewis-Jean, who's hit a pair of jumpers in the early going, 2 of 4 from the field. Over to Charles Mitchell just back into the game. The Beacons' leading scorer at 15 points a game. Still scoreless today. This time it's Boyd, way too strong. Rebound loose, Sinelli fighting with Thompson. Sinelli able to keep it in, but it's into the hands of a Fisher player. Long throw out in front for Yakub. The Beacons, though, get back. Sinelli fortunate not to be called there. Shot well off the mark. First time we've seen a look from Kyle Snowden just into the game. Charlie Mitchell, the ball fake, finds Charles Mitchell wide open in the corner and gets a little bit of a roll as the Beacons take the lead back once again, 17-16.
And again, you see the success in transition. That's just going to be where a lot of their opportunities come right now, rebounding effectively, getting out in transition, getting good shots.
Here comes the drive from Anthony Kellum back into the game after a brief seat. Thompson has been very good today. Has to give it up for the player just in. That's Snowden, the junior guard out of Santa Cruz. Snowden will force a three. That is an awkward-looking shot, but it was effective on that particular possession.
They'll live with that. That's not bad defense.
Charles Mitchell trying to make it 2 in a row, well short. Snowden almost looks like it's a bit of a shot put, but he does lead the team. He's 10 of 10 from the free throw line, so it's an effective shot. Cabrillo Community College transfer on the year, averaging 3.7 points and 1.8 assists in 15 minutes per game. Snowden will man the point right now, gives it over for Greats. They fake the give and go. Here's the drive, and we're going to get a foul on UMass Boston, as that was Charlie Mitchell reaching in on Kellum. No, they're going to call it travel. Got me that time, as Kellum was convinced he was going to the line.
Again, Seth, you see the versatility on defense there. He gets into the paint. He has a much smaller guard on him, but he's long enough that he can kind of create some trouble for you in the paint.
Mitchell looking to drive, has Lewis Jean, instead keeps it himself, and Charlie unable to convert. Out ahead for Thompson, had a player running in all alone. That was Yakub. Ball ends up in the backcourt, and this is going to go out of bounds. So UMass Boston forces another turnover. And just like that, we'll see DeAndre Pennington, the team's leading rebounder. Pennington out of Minnesota West Community College, formerly out of Columbia, Missouri, and he averages 7.8 rebounds per game, despite only standing at 6'4". Not the biggest guy on the floor, but maybe the most aggressive. Good dribbling there from Charlie Mitchell to open up Dason Sinelli. Sinelli wide open, leaves it for Charlie Mitchell, who's not the shooter, but he knocks down another one, and the Beacons back up by 1.
But that's a great extra pass. That was a shot that Sinelli could have taken right at the free throw line, but he gave it up, got a better shot in rhythm.
Well, in this day and age, you always want to take the 3 over the long 2, right?
That's where the game's going now.
Here comes a dribble drive, kicked back out for Snowden. Snowden with 11 on the shot clock, over for Yakub. The Beacons double team him, harassing him, forces a turnover. Charlie Mitchell out ahead for Charles Mitchell. Good drive, contact, and he'll head to the line for 2. Yakub can't believe it. But again, you get the smaller player going into the body, and it probably looked a little bit worse than it was.
You see the athleticism there in transition. I've been down on the floor with these kids for a greater part of the fall, and they are special athletes. They're 5'10", they have long wingspans, but they're deceiving. They are special athletes.
Pair of players who said throughout their recruitment process that they wanted to play together, and that's a big part of why UMass Boston got them. Both players extremely talented. Charles, the player at the line right now, is the shooter, averaging over 15 points per game. He went off for 21 against UMass Lowell in an exhibition. Charlie, the point guard, and UMass Boston, at least to start the season, has not been playing them together consistently, but they'll typically see around 5 to 10 minutes together and then a lot of playing time apart. Into the corner, Tavares, who's looked for his own shot a lot, drains a three-pointer, and we're back tied. Ever since we got to 11, it's been either a tie or a one-point game for the most part. Boyd over for Sinelli, has not looked for his offense early on. He'll take the 4-foot runner. A little bit short, taps the rebound into the hands of Lewis Jean, who can't control. And Fisher will push the floor right now with Tavares.
I think that's a great shot for Sinelli, though he's going to keep working on, not taking it all the way in, getting that little push shot over the top. He's going to make that consistently. It's really going to make his game a little more diverse.
Yakub over for Pennington. Pennington tried to drive on Sinelli, had to pull it out. Tavares gives it up for Charles Mitchell. Charles Mitchell has Sinelli trailing. Instead, he'll keep it himself. Tried to find Lee, and he somehow able to keep that ball in bounds. Now it's Boyd. A great pass for Sinelli. The Beacons able to use their transition offense to end up in the half court and still successful.
It's a great attack and a great dump off for an easy bucket.
Pennington has to pull it back out for Snowden. We've seen Fisher struggle a little bit more after that early 6-0 start to get their offense, as Pennington, upset with the lack of movement on the near side, goes over for Tavares, tries to drive on Lee, kicks it out for Pennington, not a shooter. Over for Snowden, drives, and he'll pull up once again. He's aggressive off the bench, but has only hit the 1-3.
And you can tell just by how they're defending the ball. The Beacons do not fear this team from behind the three-point line. They're given 4 or 5 feet of space every time, make you attack the basket.
Ty Lee able to drive in transition, knocks it down with the left hand, and we'll get to immediate timeout as Rob Bluen forced to use his first. Take a timeout, and then we'll look at some highlights coming out of the break. It's UMass Boston 26, Fisher 22 with 7:19 to go in the first half.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, and I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that
you have a family with your team that can guide you.
Right now, we'll take a look at two of the highlights from the early going. UMass Boston up by 4. And here was the three from Tavares. You mentioned it, giving him space. This Fisher team as a team shoots just 29.5% for distance. And that was the nice layoff from Boyd to Sinelli. If you're UMass Boston, you're going to take the way this game has gone in the early going, not only because you're leading by 4, but because the Beacons are getting a lot of points inside the paint or from distance on wide open threes. We've seen Fisher struggle to get looks in the early going, and they're taking a lot of contested shots.
Yeah, and again, I think they're gonna live with Fisher playing behind the arc, and that's just why it makes it so much more important to really defend penetration. If you're gonna give them space, you really got to keep them out of the lane.
Hawkins back into the game for Sinelli, blocks the shot, but first the travel. And right now you see Rob Blewett just asking his team to attack a little bit harder. Jeff, off air, you mentioned the Beacons look a little bit sluggish. They're out to the lead, but this is not as fast as we expect the Beacons to play or as crisp either, as there's Boyd driving. A little bit of a shoulder to open up space and unable to finish. Long rebound. They're going to get Hawkins there on the loose ball foul. That's tough, as that's going to be, I think, the second on Hawkins here. The only Beacon who is the only player for either team who has multiple fouls, and Hawkins has picked up both for UMass Boston.
Yeah, and Seth, I can tell you too, this is a game that I played in 4 times, and you love to host a tournament, but at the same time, that Friday home game, like you mentioned earlier, right after Thanksgiving, sometimes there's not a ton of energy in the gym. It can be tough to come out here and grind out a win.
There's a good drive from Pennington, runs right into Hawkins. The Beacons were asking for a travel to the near side. Rembert looking for a rare shot, short on the 3. Beacons fight for the rebound. Lee able to save it, and his foot was just on the blue. Tough break for UMass Boston. Well, and you're someone who works with UMass Boston athletes, not just on their conditioning, but also on some diet stuff. How much harder is it after Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is probably the day where you feel the most sluggish after, because you're eating all that food and a little bit of that tryptophan.
Yeah, and I would say the biggest thing too is hydration. It's, you got to make it a point to really hydrate, not just that day, but the day after too. A young group, a lot of these guys are going to figure out their routines on game day, the day after games, recovery. It takes a long time. There's so much that goes into being a college athlete and playing at this level. It's unreasonable to think a lot of these guys have it now.
Fisher throws the ball out of bounds. The Beacons will get it back. Barnes into the game for Boyd. Barnes had an immediate impact the last time he came in. Takes the 4-footer well short. I believe he airballed that one for the senior out of Boston, who's been a big addition for the Beacons the last 3 years. Should have been a Beacon steal. Rembert threw it to a spot, and Charles Mitchell beat the ball to Tavares, but it goes in and out of Charles's hands, out of bounds. It'll stay with Fisher, who will bring Jamonte Thompson back in, along with, I believe, Anthony Kellum. So they're going to bring in a lot of their starters. Blake Green is back in as well. And with the exception of Malik Selden, who just checked in, the sophomore forward out of Leesburg, Virginia, 4 of the 5 starters in for Fisher here with 6 minutes left in the half, down 2. Thompson driving on the much smaller Lee, and now here's Selden able to finish over Taylor. Selden, a Regis College transfer, another Division III school, as he's averaging just 5.4 minutes per game, already over his season average of 1.2 points per game. Lee for Taylor, down to 15 on the shot clock. Taylor right back for Lee, who has not taken many shots, just the one, I believe. Taylor goes all the way to the hoop, draws contact, and it's going to be a block call there on Green. And I think his feet were just inside the circle.
Yeah, he was definitely inside the circle there. He actually had good position, but he's just a little bit late getting over there.
Just the second team foul on Fisher, his first. So the good news is, if you're a fan of basketball that has a little bit of rhythm, we shouldn't be seeing the bonus for either side have a chance to actually play out the half, although 5:24 still left. Anything could happen as Taylor knocks down the first, and the Beacons stretch their lead out to 3.
Well, we talked about defensive penetration on the Beacons' defensive side of the court. On the offensive side of the court, it doesn't seem like Fisher can keep them out of the lane too. So you really just want them to be aggressive and force the issue and get in there. Seems like that's where the majority of their opportunities are coming right now.
Taylor 1 for 2 from the line, now 1 for 3 on the season. Mason Sinelli will check back in. Barnes swats it out of bounds right into the hands of assistant coach Jamie Morrison, and it'll stay with the Falcons as Taylor will take a seat.
And Seth, that's where Iser is a special player. He's, his offense comes in spurts. He definitely has his hot streaks and his hot games, but he is a special defender. He can pick you up not full court, baseline to baseline, and really work you.
Beacons fight for the steal there, almost left Selden wide open for a lay-in. Instead, they kick it out to Kellum for a long two. He's off the mark, and the Beacons look to push the pace here. Barnes wide open down on the baseline. Instead, Lee's going to look to dribble with it. Lee from about 4 feet. Nice little floater with the right hand, and the Beacons have their largest lead at 29-24.
And that's a shot he's worked on tremendously in the offseason. Obviously a little undersized, not the most explosive athlete at the point guard position, but he really has that nice in-between game, both with the floater, the push shot, and the mid-range jump shot.
Ty averaging 7 points per game and a team-high 4 assists per game. Blake Green calling for it down low, double teamed by Hawkins and Lee, kicks it out for Rembert. Now it's Kellum looking to drive with the left hand, scooping it underneath of Barnes, and that's a good answer for Fisher.
You'd like to see him close out a little more under control there. Again, you don't have to overreact to these Fisher threes. Got to come out a little more under control.
Lee, the scoop shot, perfectly read there by Selden, but he falls out of bounds as he's trying to get it off. And we'll see Lee and Hawkins head to the bench. Lewis Jean and Charlie Mitchell back out there. So it's the two Mitchell twins, Dason Sinelli, Barnes, and Lewis Jean, one of the most veteran sides you'll see for UMass Boston this year. 14 on the shot clock as Lee's shot never hit the cylinder, and they said Fisher never established possession there. Sinelli wide open. Charles Mitchell for three. A little bit short. And Thompson the rebound. He kicked that one. It'll stay with the Beacons either way. And these turnovers are piling up for Fisher here in the first half. Under 4 minutes to go in the half. Next stop is to lead us to our final media timeout. Barnes for Charles, Mitchell over for Charlie. Charlie looks to drive the floater well short, and the rebound into the hands of Selden. A heavy dosage of floaters and runners from UMass Boston here in the opening couple minutes. How much of that is by design, and how much of that should have been an up and down? Jason Harris can't believe it. Blake Green misses, and the Beacons will get the ball back, so it won't lead to a change in points, but that was pretty blatant up and down there by the Falcons.
Yeah, and just to answer your question before, Seth, there, just getting to know some of these guys over the first couple months of their freshman year in some cases, that's a shot that just a lot of these guys happen to like. Both the Mitchell twins love to get about 10, 12 feet from the basket, shoot the floater over the top. Ty Lee loves that shot. That's a shot Dason's working on, so you'll see that a lot from this UMass team.
Blake Green from the post has to give it up. Barnes out ahead of the pack, but they say that he touched the sideline there. That's going to lead to a timeout. UMass Boston frustrated. They're not taking advantage of some of these turnovers, but Fisher got to be up to at least a dozen turnovers here in the first half.
Yeah, and you just said it. The Beacons, this is a game they should be up 8 or 10 right now, if a little bit more efficient on the offensive end, really struggling to take advantage. With the Beacons, it's not necessarily the turnovers are pretty low, but all their shots right now aren't necessarily the most effective shots or the best shots you could be taking.
Well, this is a huge point in any game, in any quarter, in any half for a head coach. 2:52 to go. You want to go into the half not only with momentum, but you want to win these last 3 minutes to give your side a little breathing room if you're UMass Boston, or to get back into the game if you're Fisher. What are you focused on if you're UMass Boston here over the final 2:52?
Yeah, I actually think the defensive intensity is pretty good. You're starting to see some more turnovers. They're intercepting pass on the help side. They're creating opportunities for themselves. What I'd like to see is actually a little more pace on offense. When I say pace on offense, I don't necessarily mean up and down, baseline to baseline, but moving the ball with pace on the offensive end. Pass hard, cut hard. Those little things, the cumulative effect of those are going to open up opportunities, get you better shots. We see them a little sluggish on the offensive end right now.
Beacons trailed 6-0 early. Immediately were able to cut the deficit to 8-6, and they've been in the lead for about the last 3 to 4 minutes. It's been a close game throughout. The Beacons' largest lead was 5. Fisher's early 6-0 lead, their largest lead of the game, and the largest for either side. For UMass Boston out of the timeout, they'll go with the Mitchell twins, Boyd, Lewis Jean, and Sinelli. On the other side, Rembert out there with Pennington, Kellum, Blake Green, and Jamonte Thompson, the 5 starters for Fisher. And there's another turnover, but Charlie Mitchell couldn't quite get there. Fisher is playing with fire here in the opening half, and the Beacons will get it back after they couldn't quite handle the first steal. Immediately, Rob Blumen's going to send a sub to the scorer's table, as he can't be happy with that. Out of a timeout, two very bad passes. Sinelli in the paint, throws it up with the right hand. It's off the mark, and another rebound for Pennington.
Sorry, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Sinelli catches it right at the free throw line. If he turns, he has an easy catch and look opposite. We would have had a pretty wide open three there in the corner, but it's just, again, just rushing a little bit, not making the extra pass.
They're going to send Kellum to the bench. The team's third leading scorer has seen very little time. And there was another near turnover along the sideline. The Beacons, especially the Twins, have just upped the defensive intensity here. There's Charles Mitchell trying to get there. Sinelli to the floor. Pennington able to pick it up. Wide open Blake Green, and a nice job by Kevin Lewis-Jean to alter the shot without giving the foul.
Yeah, it's a great job not giving up on the play. That could have been an easy bucket off a broken play. They really hustled to stay in it.
Beacons will set up their offense, up by 3 with under 2 minutes to go in the half. Boyd fakes the 3, drives on Yakub, over for Sinelli, who a little bit too quick there with the steps, and the Beacons will give it back. Bernard Taylor will replace Dason with 1:46 to go in the half. Make sure to stick with us at halftime. We'll have an interview with Jason Harris. I don't think it's going to be the happiest we've seen him this year at halftime, as this team in the lead, but as you said, Jeff, it could certainly be more, just a little bit better execution.
Yeah, for sure. It's a shame because their defensive intensity right now is fantastic.
Blake Green from the post, over Lewis-Jean, rebound loose.
Really doing all the little things well, squaring him up in the post, getting his high hands, making him take a tough shot going away from the basket.
Into the corner for Lewis-Jean, who's hit 2 jumpers, but he'll elect to pass this one up. Charlie Mitchell looking for another one. That's too strong, and the Beacons called for the push-off. Bernard Taylor is going to be whistled. Just the third team foul on the Beacons with 1:10 to go. So no chance, really, of the bonus right now. The Beacons will go into some full-court pressure. 4 players in the front court. Lewis-Jean all alone. A little bit of soft pressure here. Finally, the Beacons double-team the ball. Rembert trying to bring it across half-court and will do so. Into the corner for Yakub, takes the 3. That one's too strong. Long rebound. Thompson had a hand on it, and now it's going to be out of bounds off of Charles Mitchell.
And Seth, that's exactly what you're looking to do right there with that false pressures. Let them get it over the top. They get the look in the corner. That's fool's gold. That's a shot they're going to give them every time.
Except that's the guy you don't want shooting threes. Mina Yakub, now 13 of 29 on the year. He's shooting over 40%. The lone guy on the team who's really hit well is Rembert. Makes me look like a fool. But Yakub is not taking a shot inside the perimeter, so he's the guy they want shooting that one. 29-29 here with under a minute to go in the half. Lewis-Jean for Charles Mitchell, a pretty good three-point shooter in his own right. Charlie Mitchell up top with 15 on the shot clock. This will likely be the Beacons' last possession. Lewis-Jean up top for Charlie Mitchell. Good ball fake. Tries to get it back for Lewis-Jean. Pennington read it the whole way. Rembert in transition as Yakub to his right. Almost had it poked away there. And with 17, Fisher can play for the last shot. Shot clock turned off here. Fisher, who trailed by as many as 5, has a chance to take the lead into the half. These two teams both came in averaging over 70 points per game. In fact, Fisher averaging over 80, but could be 29 all at half. That one well short out of the hands of Rembert. And we're going to head to half all tied at 29. Jeff, some quick thoughts before we head down low.
Yeah, again, I think most of it right now is on the offensive end. I'd like to see them play with a little bit more pace, a little better execution. And, again, we talked about how young they are. That might take some time. They have to get stops, rebound, get out in transition.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
cheer for the stumbles, the he shoulda had that's, and the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
What I'm assuming is the good for you. Defensive intensity, this team averages over 80. You were turning them over a lot despite the fact they're a veteran side. What can you say about your defensive intensity, especially there late in the half?
I'm going to disagree with you, Seth. I thought our defensive intensity was good at times, and that's when we got the lead up to, 8, 9, whatever it was. And then, again, we broke down. We had, leaving our feet, getting beat middle, not finishing plays, and that's why we're back now at a tie ball game.
Offensively, at points you were getting it down low with ease, and then it seemed like the last 5 minutes you weren't really getting into the sets that you were looking for. Is that a little bit of the break, or is that just being maybe young and letting Fisher dictate?
It's whatever you want to call it, Seth, works for me. I just don't feel like we're playing very hard. We're not playing fast on offense, and when we're taking the ball out, it's hard to run when you're inbounding the ball. And when we do get stops, we're walking it up, and so we're playing it at their pace, and they're more physical, and we got to do a good job. So the one good thing about it is I thought we were a little flat, and we're tied up now at the half, and hopefully we got our wake-up call. We can come out hard. All right.
Thanks for your time, Coach. We'll head back up top right now and look at some highlights from the women's basketball team season opener. The Beacons earned a win over Coast Guard, and they sit at 3-1 right after Thanksgiving.
My name is Kirsten Morrison, aka Keeks. I'm a senior here at UMass. I'm in the Exercise Health Sciences program, and I play volleyball, basketball, and softball. I came here for volleyball, and I chose between basketball and softball, and I went with basketball my freshman year to play, and it's always kind of been a thing that I wanted to do is play softball my senior year. And after talking with Coach Dagg, she was like, yeah, come on the team, and I was like, all right, and here I am playing 3 sports this year. Being a Beacon, I don't even know if words can describe. Coming here as a freshman, I was a little nervous and scared, but I walked in these doors and they all had open arms. They showed me the ropes. The coaching staff, the athletic staff, the chancellor, the vice chancellors, everyone here is so welcoming, and I really can't stress enough about how much this is really a second family for me here at UMass. I got my 1,000 points this year. It's amazing. I don't even think words can describe how I feel about it. It's something I've always wanted to do my whole life, and doing it here with my teammates and the coaching staff here is just an unbelievable experience, and I'm so happy to be able to do that. I'm doing my internship this summer at the Quincy YMCA, and I really hope to be coaching in my future.
Don't blame it on me. Blame it on the night. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me. So blame it on the night. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me.
Welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center. UMass Boston and Fisher tied 29 all at the half. Right now we'll take a look at the halftime statistics. And you see UMass Boston did not shoot the ball all that well. The Beacons at 34.4%. UMass Boston shooting 11 of 32. On the other side, Fisher 12 of 29, 41%. Both teams knocking down 4 threes. The Beacons on 11 attempts. Fisher on 9 attempts. Not many free throw attempts overall. The Beacons 3 of 4. Fisher 1 of 1. Rebounds +5 for the Falcons. We thought that was a possibility. The Falcons came in at +7.2 per game. The Beacons at -6 rebounds per game. So a pretty wide margin. Right now we're about in line for a 10 to 13 rebound difference. In terms of assists, the Beacons with 9 assists versus 7 turnovers. Still a lot higher than their season average. The Beacons at 10 turnovers per game, so right now on pace for closer to 15. Fisher, who averages 19.6 rebound or 6 turnovers per game, already has 13 here in the first half. Right now we'll take a look at those women's basketball highlights I promised you earlier. Those were the women's hockey highlights if you hadn't figured it out. And then we'll bring you the team leaders, some highlights from that first half, and a look around the rest of Beacon Mill and the rest of the Little East Conference during this halftime show. At the half, UMass Boston and Fisher tied 29 all. We'll take a look at the team leaders for these two sides. For UMass Boston, a very balanced offensive attack. No players in double digits. The most, Bernard Taylor with 7. He only attempted 3 different shots, but the Beacons also getting 6 from Kevin Lewis-Jean, 5 more from Charles Mitchell, 4 from Ty Lee, and a couple more from Jason Sinelli, Iser Barnes, and Charlie Mitchell. On the other side for Fisher, they've relied heavily on Jamonte Thompson, an efficient 7 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists in 16 minutes. And Jeff, we were talking about it, a guy who was our player to watch, a guy who's been so good for UMass Boston this year, Michael Boyd, 0 for 3, 0 points, 1 assist, 1 turnover in 11 minutes. That's a guy who the Beacons have relied upon, averaging 13.5 points per game. he can get going, that's certainly going to help take the scoring load off of a team that already doesn't necessarily have one or two guys who have to carry it. But it's great when you have a guy who's that talented.
Yeah, he's going to need to. This half in particular, it's, we don't have long to wait on him. His game is somewhere between the Mitchell twins and Iser. He's really fast, explosive. He loves to get to the basket, but he's got some size to him that he can put his shoulder through people and get to the basket. So with all that offensive versatility, he's going to have to give us something the second half.
Right now, we'll take a look at the highlights from half number 1. It was a slow start for the Beacons. They fell behind 6-0, ended up leading by as many as 5 points at 29-24, and then a 5-0 run from Fishers. Right now, we'll take a look at those highlights right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network, and it starts with UMass Boston getting to the hoop. That's where they were able to turn this game around, not settling for those threes. Lee looking for numbers early on. It's the pass from Lee finding Iser Barnes, who came in and immediately with the Beacons down early, able to turn things around. And here's Lee again driving, kicking out to Lewis Jean. That's where the Beacons had success, especially in the early going. Ty Lee being a guy who's focused on distribution. And then it was one of the things that Coach Harris said, this Fisher team, they're longer, they're stronger. UMass Boston's got to keep them out of the paint.
Yeah, you got to, for me, that's the big difference in the game right now. He had talked about some of the wild closeouts and the over-rotating. You got to be able to stop penetration, especially with a group that doesn't shoot the three effectively. That's where they're going to hurt you, is in the paint. I thought at times they did a much better job of helping and walling off and making them shoot over the top, but there are just too many easy layups, I thought, in that first half.
There was a nice unselfish play from Dason Sinelli finding Charlie Mitchell, and then it was Grates to kick out for Tavares. Talk about a team that doesn't shoot the three all that well. Well, Fisher punished the Beacons in that first half, 4 of 9, 44%. The Beacons sort of in between their first and second game, 11 threes attempted in the first half. They limited the threes against Wheelock. They were taking a boatload of them against Norwich, and right now on pace for about 22. So here's a nice drive. We've seen a couple of those where the Beacons just have been a little late closing out. 35 seconds to go before half number 2. Jeff, what's your biggest focus here in half number 2 for UMass Boston to head back to at least the Harbor Invite title game, if not earning that 9th overall title?
Well, I think just to kind of comment on what you said on the offensive end there, too, as far as some of the threes we're taking, I think their three-point attempts are going to fluctuate all year, but I think in the first half you saw the difference between the ones that are in rhythm off of ball movement and then those kind of stare-you-down threes. Those stare-you-down threes are not something we're going to want to do a lot of. We don't have a lot of those shooters right now. The ones that come in rhythm, you're going to start to see those ones go down more and more. And those can give you a real spark in a game like this, a grinded-out game. Those are the ones that get everybody involved, everybody touches it, really give you a nice spark. I hope we see some of that early on.
He's Jeff Ebbs. I'm Seth Dorensky. UMass Boston and Fisher start the second half. All squared at 29. Fisher in the road blue uniforms going from left to right. UMass Boston, the home whites, from right to left. It's an early penetration from Pennington. Kicks it out for Thompson, who gets Lee up in the air a couple of times, and Thompson can't connect. Rebound in the hands of a couple players. And we're going to get a tie-up. First of the game. It'll go back to UMass Boston as Blake Green, the tallest player on the floor, and Charlie Mitchell, one of the smallest players on the floor, get tied up. UMass Boston will start with it.
And Seth, you saw it right there from Lee on that first defensive possession. He had a flyby on a closeout and then a flyby a second time on the recovery. Just got to stay on your feet, be a little bit more disciplined on that end.
Interesting decision from Rob Blue, and a little bit of three-quarters court pressure here to start the second half. Against the Beacons team that fast, what do you think he's trying to do?
I think they're probably looking for a little bit more stability out there right now. They've had a lot of lazy turnovers. You see one from the Beacons right there, actually. And Seth, that's that 2-3 zone that they're sitting in right now. They don't really extend it. Their hands actually aren't up. A turnover like that is, that's inexcusable early on. You can't have those.
Charles Mitchell guilty of the giveaway, with Rembert coming up with the early points.
You see everybody with their hands down. The movement isn't great. They're not really extended.
A lot of dejected-looking coaches on the Beacon sideline right now. Lee trying to find Lewis Jean. Can't make the catch. Able to collect and in with the right hand, tying the game back up with 18:52 to play.
You have to have body movement against the zone. We got a little bit lucky there. The ball generally will move pretty naturally against the zone, but you have to have body movement, too, getting into gaps against the 2-3 zone.
Pennington, good drive. Blake Green is stripped by Sinelli, and then Sinelli's hitting the head. A late call there as Blake Green is whistled for his second foul. He and the Beacons, James Hawkins Jr., the only players who have been called for 2 fouls. First foul of the half for either side. Again, Fisher's going to stay in this three-quarter score pressure, at least to start. UMass Boston led for a good portion of that first half, especially the late part, before a late Fisher run tied the game at 29-29. Can either side gain some separation? From the baseline, it's Louis Jean over to Sanelli. Shot is altered there by the bigger Blake Green, and Rembert another rebound. Beacon's able to stop his dribble, pulls it out for Kellum. Kellum a wide open Pennington. Pennington looks to drive, runs into Louis Jean, and we're going to get a charge call from the back. And welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center, folks. We're really sorry we blew a circuit, and you know what? You missed a couple of minutes, but it's a 42-38 lead. And Jeff, I didn't get to watch any of the action, but one of the people missed at home since we lost power with about, I don't know, 2 minutes into the half.
Yeah, well, maybe it was good luck that we went away, because I think the Beacons are starting to figure out this 2-3 zone. They've really done a much better job of getting into the foul line, the short corner, and getting some layups out of it. And that's what they're going to have to keep doing if Fisher's going to sit in this 2-3. On the other end, you're starting to see Fisher play this soft 1-2-2, like a two-thirds court 1-2-2. The Beacons have broken it pretty easy. I think Fisher maybe just trying to give a different look here early.
Right now, UMass Boston leads 44-38. Beacons in a little bit of full court pressure. Coming across the line is Snowden, picks up his dribble, dangerous pass across for Thompson. Lee able to stick with him. The floater, no good, rebound tapped around by the very tall Grace, but he has it stripped down low. Diving onto the ball is Pennington. And we're going to get a jump ball with possession staying with Fisher. $11:33 to go, 27 on the shot clock. The Beacons with their largest lead of the game at 44-38. We're sorry we don't have a scoreboard for you. That appears to be the one thing we haven't gotten back. But fortunately, the picture and everything else is working. Good drive from Pennington, can't finish. Greats again going up, stripped by the smaller Bernard Taylor. In transition, Charlie finds Charles, the scoop, and the Beacons make an 8-point lead.
And Seth, we've talked a lot about athleticism from a bunch of guys for the Beacons. You see Bernard Taylor there. He's off the floor the first time to contest, and then quickly the second time with a block.
Sanelli nearly with the strip at midcourt. There's Thompson passing up the shot. Giving it over to Snowden. Snowden for Yakub. Snowden dribbles out. Thompson looking for three. Well short. Rebound falls into the hands of Yakub. Draws the foul but can't finish. And again, we've seen Fisher really hurt the Beacons with these offensive rebounds. In the first half, they were limited to just 3. They've had a couple of them in the last few possessions alone.
On the positive side, though, Seth, you see the Beacons doing a much better job contesting these threes. In the first half, you'd see them get some open rhythm jumpers that make an average shooting team look a lot better than they are. You see the threes right now on the Fisher offense. Most of them are contested and leading rebound and runouts.
46-38 in favor of UMass Boston. Make it 46-39 after Yakub hits the first. This is his first free throw attempt of the year. A pure three-point shooter. Came into the game hitting 13 of 28 field goals, 13 of 28 threes. Pennington the strong rebound, and he's fouled by Taylor. Sanelli thought that he had drawn the foul. That's now 6 on the Beacons. We saw the two teams combine for 5 team fouls in the first half. Already 11 here with 10:50 to play. So free throw should come into play here in the second half as Pennington will get his first look at the second half and it calmly drains it.
And those are the offensive rebounds that will drive you crazy as a coach. Off a free throw, you got to have that one, especially after just giving up free throw attempts on an offensive rebound.
Pennington drains the first, came in today hitting 10 of 16 from the line. A little bit strong on the second. Another offensive rebound. That's 3 on the possession alone, and Fisher had one of the last possessions. So already the past 2 possessions, they've had more than they had the first half. Good drive from Thompson. Gets caught up in the air, and Louis Jean will take that interception any day. Lee in transition, finds Charlie Mitchell, looks to drive on the larger Pennington, pulls it out, and Fisher will set up in their 2-3 zone. Joshua Grates, the Australian native, in the middle with Thompson to his left, Pennington to the right. It's a long side for Fisher. Lee dribbles in, takes the body from Grates. Charles Mitchell from the corner, too strong. Long rebound, and 2 Fisher players collide and tap it out of bounds. Bit of a break for the Beacons as they get a rare offensive board. Joshua Grates will check out, but the even bigger Michael Blake Green back in. This Fisher team is significantly larger than the Beacons, but you'll probably be able to say that in every game this season. Charles Mitchell tries again. This time he tickles the twine, and the Beacons have their largest lead of the game at 49-40, just under 10 minutes to play in this 33rd Annual Harbor Invite semifinal game as there's a strip from Charlie Mitchell, and on the other side, they get bailed out. Just a little bit of contact on the wrist.
And Seth, you'll notice on that last offensive possession, that three-pointer came after one full ball reversal, went to the right, came back to the left. That small difference is enormous when you're playing against a zone. You can get a three almost any time you want, but if you can shift the defense one way, bring them back the other way, sometimes even get a third ball reversal, that makes an enormous difference for the shooter.
They're going to go to the scorers table right now. The scoreboard shows 16 fouls, but I don't know if it was updated after the fifth, and now they are going to say 6. So the next foul will lead to the 1-and-1 for either side. Tight defense there on Snowden as Charles Mitchell is draped all over his back. Wide open three from the top from Kellum. Airballs it, and it caught a little bit of the blue before Pennington could get there. 49-40, UMass Boston leads 9:45 to play. Jeff, what's been the difference here in the second half versus that first half?
I think in the first half, we mentioned the last 5 minutes of the first half playing with pace. I think if you look at them on both ends right now, particularly offensively, everything seems like it's with a purpose right now. They're moving it with a purpose. They're cutting a little harder. Ball is swinging and reversing. That stuff is going to make a big difference on the offensive end, especially for a young group right now.
Charles Mitchell misses the early three. That one went in and out. Tavares thought about the answer. Now he drives. Euro step off the glass and in.
And Seth, I think we're looking at a huge point in the game right here. Beacon's had it spread out to 9. Fisher's in a lull right now. We really have a chance to build it to 13 or 15, put this game away. You don't want to let him back in it.
7-point lead with 9:08 to play. UMass Boston 49-42. Jason Snelly and Michael Boyd awaiting to check in. Charles Mitchell gives it back over for Lee. Charlie Mitchell swings it back the other way. Lee forced to give it up. Mitchell to Mitchell with 8. Bernard Taylor wants a 3, well off the mark. Lee taps up the rebound. It's loose. Taylor can't quite handle it. Blake Green somehow able to save it, but sends it off the back of the board. And that was tremendous hustle from some of the smaller Beacons in amongst 3 Fisher players. Ty Lee and Bernard Taylor will check out. Dason Sinelli and Mike Boyd back in. Freshman and a sophomore in for a freshman and a sophomore. This Beacons team is so young, but they've played well thus far, looking for their second straight 3-0 start. Mike Boyd calling out directions, over for Charles Mitchell, maybe a little bit too high on the pass. Charlie from the near wing, back for Boyd. Boyd, who was scoreless in the first half, over for Charlie Mitchell, who's way too strong. Looked like he might have just lost that one coming out of the hands.
Now that's actually what you want to see him do, though, is get a couple reversals, then see if you can get into the gaps either with the pass or with the attack. Puts a lot more pressure on that zone.
Tavares was caught just a little bit there by Charlie Mitchell. That's a criminal sin when it comes to basketball, and we're going to see Tavares go to the line for 3 free throws. Now 3 fouls on Charlie Mitchell. And Malik Tavares, who hasn't gone to the line all that often this year, 2 of 6 coming in, will get 3 attempts here with 8:19 to play and his team down 7.
Now, at this time of the game, you're always going to be frustrated when the other team has the opportunity to put points on the board without the clock running.
Tavares catches the front of the rim, the back of the rim, but can't get it to go down. UMass Boston up by 7 with 8:19 to play. 2 more media timeouts between these two sides as Tavares is strong with the second as well. Rembert and Lee will check in. Pair of starters for both sides as Snowden and Charlie Mitchell will take a seat. Tavares 0 for 2 and just able to get enough on that third one. We'll take a timeout. It'll become a media with the timeout within 30 seconds of a media timeout. Beacons lead by 6 with 8:19 to play. We'll take a commercial break, and then we'll be back here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
49-43, UMass Boston leads with 8:19 to play. The Beacons have won 5 consecutive Harbor Invitational semifinals games. They've lost the last 4 championship games, looking for their 9th overall Harbor Invite title and their first since 2012. First, they have to finish off this Fisher College Falcons side. Lee out there with Sinelli, Lewis Jean, Boyd, and Charles Mitchell. Up top with it is Sinelli. Couple of dribbles, has to come over to the near side for Charles Mitchell. He's been the Beacons' top scorer all season long. Hands it off for Boyd with 9 on the shot clock. Sinelli goes to work, drives baseline. He's altered there by Blake Green, but draws enough of the big man, and that'll head to 2 shots right now for Sinelli. That's the 7th team foul on the Falcons, and 4 fouls there on Blake Green. Huge, as the big man has been such a difference maker down low today for Fisher.
Seth, these are the games that you actually want to see this young team in, because they're just going to have to figure it out. The last 6, 7, 8 minutes of games in a close game, who do you go to on the offensive end? Who are your most reliable guys? It's going to take them some time to figure that out.
Today it's been Kevin Lewis Jean, 12 points and an efficient 6 of 8 shooting. He had 10 points in the Beacons opener, 0 against Wheelock. The Beacons, though, have gotten balanced scoring, 9 from Bernard Taylor, 8 from Charles Mitchell, 7 from Charlie Mitchell, and 5 more from Dason Sinelli. So some of the Beacons' top scorers, they have 3 guys averaging double digits. None of those guys in double digits yet, but one of the upperclassmen on the other side, only 1 player in double digits for Fisher, 10 for Brandon Rembert, the team's leading scorer. 9 more from Malik Tavares off the bench, 7 from Jamonte Thompson, most of those early. In fact, all of those in the first half, and then a slew of players with 2 points. Neither team has been able to find a go-to scorer in this game.
On the Beacon side, I think you're going to see that all year. I think you'll see guys that have opportunities in games where they score 18, 20, 25. That same player the next game might come back with 3 or 5. Good thing about the versatility they have on both ends is they're going to be able to win games like that.
Dason Sinelli, the sophomore, who's the top Beacons free throw shooter this year at 81.8%, heads to the line. A Boston Collegiate Charter High School product, where he was a first-team Charter All-Star and team MVP. Short on the first. UMass Boston only had 4 free throw attempts in the first half, went 3 of 4. For the game, they're now 6 of 11. Not where Jason Harris would like it to be. Sinelli 1 of 2. And the lead is 50-43, breaking up a very small 3-0 run for the Falcons. Interesting decision here. Blake Green is going to stay out there with his 4 fouls and 7:45 to play. See if the Beacons attack him on offense. It's Selden giving it off for Blake Green. Just shy of the elbow. We'll kick it out for Rembert. Rembert across for Tavares, who's been one of the better scorers today. That looked like too many steps into the corner for Kellum. The 3 is short, and a nice box out from Kevin Lewis Jean. To the offensive end, Ty Lee will slow it down. Still 7:20 remaining. The Beacons lead 50-43 in a game that we expected to be played in the 70s.
It's one of the rare times you've seen them come up and actually call an offensive set. They got to that horn set there with the 2 high post players.
Boyd long on the 3, and then Sinelli can't get the rebound. Tavares in transition. Great layoff for Kellum, and the easy 2. That's the problem with those long 3s, right?
That's what happens, especially this time in the game. You got to make sure you're getting at least 2 guys back. Make sure you prevent those runouts.
Iser Barnes will head to the scorer's table as we've got Light back in our press box. Officially back to full power. We've got a foul off the ball. Tavares can't believe it. Trying to track down Charles Mitchell, and that's going to send one of the Beacons' better free throw shooters to the line. Charles on the season averaging a team-high 15 points per game. Just 3 of 7 from the free throw line, but I can tell you from covering a decent amount of high school basketball in the city that Charles and Charlie are both good free throw shooters and guys who excel in the clutch, as Charles knocks down the first one. 51-45, Beacon lead with 6:45 to play. Charles unable to convert on the second. So important on these 1-and-1s that you're able to get something from the possession. 18 fouls now on Fisher, 7 on the Beacons with 6:35 to play. Rembert thought about the step back, gives it over to Tavares, who's been very aggressive driving. Up top for Blake Green, back to Rembert on the smaller Charles Mitchell. The fadeaway, beautiful little move there from Brandon Rembert, the junior out of Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah, and that's a tough shot right there. Charles actually did a great job of squaring him up, getting his hands high, making him shoot away from the basket and over the top. It's a tough shot.
Rembert came into this one averaging 16 points per game after averaging 17 a year ago with Rowan College, a community college down in New Jersey. Beacons again trying to drain some of the shot clock. With 10, Lee will go to work. 6 minutes left in regulation, down to 7. Lee tries the scoop shot. He's off the mark. Lewis Jean, a good box out there, but Blake Green gets his hands in, and Iser Barnes fights for it. Finally, Kellum comes away with it. Kellum stripped from behind. The Beacons bench can't believe it, but that might have saved 2 points either way, as there were 2 Falcons out ahead of the pack and just Charles Mitchell back for the Beacons.
And I think talking about that last offensive possession right there, one of the toughest things for this young group is going to be learning how to play 40 minutes and not get lulled into that, drain the clock, and end up with no good possessions. 4-point game right now, you need a good possession every time.
We apologize again for the lack of a scoreboard when we lost power up in the press box. We haven't been able to get that part of our internet back. There's a front end of the 1-and-1 converted by Anthony Kellum, the College of the Desert transfer, community college out there in the LA area. Kellum on the season came in 8 of 14 from the free throw line, but he knocks down both. And all of a sudden, after the Beacons had run it out to a 9-point lead, it's a 2-point game now, 51-49. A 9-2 run in favor of the Falcons.
Again, here you see him walking it up. You got to play with pace. Play hard on both ends.
Boyd tried to drive on Thompson, had to kick it out for Charles Mitchell. Mitchell, the step back, it's a tough shot, and the rebound falls into the hands of Rembert. Leaking out was Tavares, but Rembert didn't see him. A behind-the-back dribble that Barnes easily able to get to. Might have been a bit too much there by Brandon Rembert. Again, the Beacons look to go slow, but Mitchell's wide open on the near side, short on the 3. Boyd couldn't rip the rebound in the hands of Thompson. Hawkins is going to head to the scorer's table. Haven't seen him in the last 6-7 minutes of game time. Tavares over Lee, a chance for the tie. Too strong rebound, tapped out of the hands of Lewis Jean, but Lee able to track it down. He's pushing the pace right now. Leaves it for Barnes, the wide open lay-in, and the Beacons able to get some easy points there. It's 53-49 with 4:52 to play.
That's a great looking transition right there.
Selden forced to give it up for Jamonte Thompson, being guarded by Boyd. 4:40 to play. Thompson loses the dribble. 2 Beacons to the ground. Boyd is there, able to get it over for Lee. And we're going to get a timeout, I believe, by the Beacons. The referee pointed towards the Fisher sideline, but the Beacons had clear possession. And we'll get a stoppage here with 4:39 to play. Jeff, you've been in these situations before as a player. You certainly watched a lot of Beacons basketball over the last decade or so. How do you close this game out, especially with such a young team? We've seen a lot of roster turnover over the Beacons over the past 10 years where they don't necessarily always have veteran squads. What's the biggest thing Jason Harris is telling this group?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to learn. They're going to have to play in these games more and more, and I'm sure they'll be in a lot of them. You know, when I was here, I played for Coach Titus, and, you know, one thing he used to tell us all the time at the end of games, he would always yell, time and score, time and score. And, you know, as a young player, you just want to play all the time. And, you know, these guys are going to have to learn how to play under control and get great shots. And, again, I think that goes back to knowing who your shot makers are at the end of games. And that's going to take some time to figure out.
Huge stat here in the second half. We saw Fisher turn the ball over 13 times in the first half. They've only turned it over 8 here in the second half, but the Beacons turned it over 7 times in that first half. They're 1 below their season average, 9 for the game. So just 2 turnovers here in the second half, a big reason why they lead by 4. Seen UMass Boston try to kill a lot of clock here with still 4:30 to play.
Yeah, and you mentioned the turnovers. One thing I always like to say about college basketball is if you play hard, you play together, you take care of the ball and defend, you're going to stay in any game no matter how bad you play on the offensive end. That's kind of what they're doing tonight. They're hanging around, they're staying in the game, they've held a lead. And a lot of it is those 9 turnovers.
One of the referees just got tripped up by Kellum, who was at the scorer's table with his legs stretched out. He is back up in front of the Fisher bench. Chance to get within 1, and Tavares hits another 3. He's been lethal from distance. It's a 1-point game with 3:54 to go. And Jeff, this is subjective, but do you think the Beacons are maybe trying to kill the clock a little bit too early in this game?
I do. I think they started about 6.5, 7 minutes where you could see them start to walk it up. They're stagnant on the offensive end. You got to just play, run your systems, be confident in them, get good shots.
Lee looking for the screen from Hawkins, gets double teamed, tries to get it down, but Blake Green with the long arms able to force the steal. Out ahead of the pack, Rembert a chance to tie it, and he'll have to do it from the line as the Beacons had 2 players in there. UMass Boston, an unforced turnover there, as it was obvious that Lee was trying to get it back to Hawkins, and now we're going to get our last media timeout. That'll be the 3rd foul on Ty Lee. We'll take a stoppage along with the teams. UMass Boston nursing a 1-point lead right now with 3:28 to play.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
UMass Boston 53-52, but Fisher has a chance to take the lead right here. Brandon Rembert was fouled. Now the other question, Jeff, is we've seen the Beacons walking it up. Now you're in a tie game, potentially down by 1. How difficult is it to rev it back up after you slow down the offense and try to get really deliberate?
Yeah, it's really tough. And with this team, it's going to start with stops, one stop and rebound and get out and run, I think is the best way for them to do it. As this group continues to play together and get deeper and deeper into the year, they're going to become more confident in their sets and their systems and where they can go this time of the game. I just don't think they're there yet.
Brandon Rembert knocks down the first to tie the game at 53 with 3:28 to go. Short on the second. Iser Barnes the rebound. 3:30 to play. Which team can win these final 3:30? Or are we going to see overtime in this, the first game of the 33rd Annual Harbor Invitational? Charlie Mitchell looking for the screen up top, gets it from Hawkins, hands it off for Boyd with 15 on the shot clock. Not a lot of movement from UMass Boston right now. Mitchell from the corner, looking to drive and gets it out for his brother Charles, who drains it. A huge three for the Beacons to take the lead right back with 3:02 to play.
It's a big-time shot, and that was actually a contested shot that he hit, but you can see it was a rhythm shot. You got 3-4 passes, a good attack of the basket.
We've got a travel by Rembert. The Beacons nearly drew the 5-second call as Pennington was almost falling into play there as he got the ball out of his hands, and then Rembert triple teamed. Now the Beacons have a chance to stretch it to a 2-possession lead here after forcing the turnover.
Let's see if they get another one of those rhythm shots here.
Charlie Mitchell found Charles the last time. The Beacons still are content to kill some clock. 18 on the shot clock, 2:40 to go in the game. The Beacons lead 56-53. Charlie Mitchell was looking for Hawkins, who's open. Now it's Charles Mitchell, just drained one. Can he get another one off? Charles drives baseline all the way across for his brother. Charlie, can they answer? Just a bit too strong. Barnes the offensive rebound, and the Beacons are going to reset it up with a new 30.
That's another great shot, though. Great hustle to get a second possession out of it.
And that's that twin connection that we'll talk about the next stoppage. 2:15 to play, 20 on the shot clock. The Beacons have a chance to make it a 2-possession game here. They've held the ball for about 60 of the last 62 seconds. Charles off to Barnes, has to pull up a contested shot in the paint, long rebound, and Jamonte Thompson able to catch. Ahead for Kellum, Barnes meets him. We're going to get a blocking foul on Iser, who can't believe it.
Now, see, Seth, you love the hustle right there. I think that's the right idea, but if you look at the time of the game, what you need there is just a good, disciplined defensive possession. You do not have to make the hero play and transition right there. Just get back, square up, and defend. In the penalty, we're going to get shots here.
Double bonus, that's the 10th foul on UMass Boston, second on Barnes. Especially, Kellum hasn't had all that good of a game. He's not a guy who's going to take the ball from there and drive it to the lane. So, frustrating foul there if you're UMass Boston. If it goes the other way, you can obviously deal with it as Kellum is off on the first. Remember, came in shooting 8 of 14, went 2 of 2 his last time down. Jeff, while we have a second, on the last two plays, both times it's one Mitchell finding another. When you play with another player for that long, and we're talking since the age of 5 or 6, how much easier does it make it to anticipate where another player is going to be and not even have to look?
Yeah, I don't think you could talk about it enough. I think most players at this level, we have tendencies that you have to play with the guy for a long time to understand what they are. These two clearly know what each other's tendencies are, where you want them when they attack the basket.
Boyd fakes the three, drives, has a wide open Hawkins. Baseline J, no good. And now Michael Blake Green appeared to have been hit in the head a little bit. Now Charlie Mitchell's going to have to come back from behind the play, lost his shoe. Rembert, the step back from the free throw line. We're all tied up at 56 with 1:23 to play.
That's a great shot right there.
Rembert doing it himself. He's coming off a game in which he had career high 23. 56 all, 1:12 to go, 20 on the shot clock. Could be down to 1 or 2 possessions each here in the final minute of this second half. Barnes thought about the three, has Kellum on him. Now Blake Green steps out. Barnes looking to drive. He'll take a contested shot, blocked there. Coming in, and it's Mitchell who's blocked. Hawkins grabs it, and it's in. The shot clock was reset there. It shouldn't have been. That might have been a Beacons break. 58-56 with 53 seconds to play. Into the corner for Thompson. Blake Green wants it. He's being guarded by the smaller Hawkins. That's a 3-inch mismatch, maybe a little bit longer with the length of Michael Blake Green. Rembert trying to drive, kicks it out for Thompson, guarded by Boyd. Up top with 10 on the shot clock. Pennington loses it, and we're going to get a charge. Hawkins takes it. That's going to be a foul on Pennington. And what a huge break there for UMass Boston. They were probably going to get the steal anyway, but if that had gone the other way, it could have been a chance for Fisher to tie the game. And 58-56, even if this game goes to overtime, there's now 4 fouls on Pennington and Michael Blake Green. A huge defensive stop for the Beacons.
Yep, you'll see the little bit of veteran presence we do have has really come out the last 4 possessions on both ends. You see Hawk got a great shot in the short corner. He didn't make it, but he makes the hustle play, gets the bucket, and then the huge charge on the defensive end. You know, just a little bit of experience sometimes these situations goes a long way.
What a huge play there by, I believe it was Charles. The long rebound looked like Blake Green was going to reach out. Charles turned on the birders, and while he wasn't able to finish on the second chance there, kept the play going, and it ended up being Hawkins who has a chance to be the hero in this one, knocking down the easy lay-in.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about youth and size in this game. What I will say about their size is some of our smaller players are also our longest players. And when you play with them, you know, they can do things sometimes you don't think they can do. Loose balls, it doesn't seem like they can get to. Rebounds, they're also deceivingly long. They can make a lot of those plays. What I will say as far as their youth and their size, we're going to talk a lot about it, but this UMass team is going to be a frustrating team to play against for teams that come in here.
His name is Jeff Ebbs. My name is Seth Dorensky. UMass Boston leads 58-56, 31 and a half seconds to go. Now there's 10 team fouls on both sides, so Fisher's obviously going to go for the steal before the foul. If you're UMass Boston, what are you looking to do right here on the inbound?
You got to get it in. You know, number one priority is you just got to get it in cleanly. Obviously, you'd like to get it to some of our best free throw shooters, but at this, you know, this time of the game, you see them knock it in and clean so frequently.
Charlie Mitchell over for Boyd, and now Lee. Beacons have to get it across in 10 seconds. They only have 3 to go. Charlie just across in time. Gets contacted there. No call. There was a lot of contact, and now it's Kellum the other way. Lee tries to block it, and Kellum can't finish. Pennington, it's actually Blake Green who's fouled. He'll head to the line for 2. A chance to tie it. Michael Blake Green, the Daniel Webster transfer on the year. 10 of 18 for the free throw line, and the big man's got to hit 2 here with 12.7 left.
Yeah, Seth, and Fisher absolutely got away with him right there. I thought they had great pressure in the front court. Once they got it over, I thought he had clearly established head and shoulders by him. Took a little bit of a push to the back. They got lucky, got away with one there.
Both 2 of the 3 referees on the near sideline is Blake Green. Too strong on the first one. Now 12.7 seconds left is a lot of time, but you have to figure he's going to try to miss this one as well and extend the possession here, needing 2 points rather than just 1.
And you see Coach Harris getting the size in there right now. This rebound is number 1 priority before anything else.
The Beacons will put Sinelli and Hawkins just back into the game down low, 2 of their better jumpers. Boyd and Barnes, 2 of their best guard rebounders in there as well. Blake Green has to miss. 58-56, and this one's going to rattle home. The last thing you want in that situation. Bluen will call a timeout for Fisher. 12.7 seconds left. There wasn't a lot of time since I asked you this the last time. Do you expect any changes, or are the Beacons just going to be content? Still with 12.7 seconds left, Fisher could play for the 10-second violation, but they might give the foul a little bit earlier.
I think they're going to give it right away, and I actually think that free throw, he wanted him to make that, make it a 1-point game, and they're going to try to stretch this 12.7 out for as long as they can. I think you'll see him give a foul immediately, doesn't matter who it is. You know, if you go to the line, you make them both, it's still a 1-possession, 3-point game.
You see it there on your screen. We did have some technical difficulties earlier on in the half, but fortunately we've got everything back up except for our scoreboard. The Beacons lead by 1, 12.7 seconds to play. Both teams in the double bonus, so a foul here would lead to 2 free throws. The Beacons got it across the last time. A player looked to be fouled. Instead, they didn't call the foul. It led to Fisher College getting a chance to tie it. The big man, Michael Blake Green, went 1 of 2. One other thing to recognize here, Pennington and Michael Blake Green both out there with 4 fouls. So the Beacons could potentially foul either of those players out right now. The other thing is the Beacons have 1 timeout remaining. So if you can't get it in, you can use that timeout instead of taking the 5-second call.
You see Coach Harris here with 5 guards on, get it in clean.
Charlie Mitchell finds Ty Lee, and Lee will head to the table. About 5 guards, 4 freshmen and a sophomore. It'll be the sophomore heading to the line.
And Lee is a much improved free throw shooter. He struggled in the past with consistency. I know he worked on it a lot this offseason. We'll see if he can make 2 big ones here.
76.7% a year ago, one of the Beacon's better free throw shooters. Hasn't taken a lot this season, just 2 of 4. These are 2 huge ones with UMass Boston up by 1 and 11.6 seconds remaining. Lee's first is too strong. Fisher will have a chance to tie or win it, and the Beacons are going to send Size right back out there. Hawkins to defend Blake Green. He'll replace Charlie Mitchell, and Lee's going to be replaced by Barnes. Still have to wait for a potential made free throw. This is a huge one right now. 58-57, 11.6 seconds to go. This young Beacons team trying to close out Fisher. Lee's second one is true, and UMass Boston up by 2. We'll see Fisher use their timeout. The Beacons still have 1 left of their own, and Mina Yakub, the 3-point specialist, is going to check in. Charlie Mitchell will check in for Ty Lee.
Now they're going to try to space the floor here. They're going to drive it to the basket. They're going to get it to the rim. What you really need to pay attention for right here is you have to defend without fouling. Obviously, you don't want to give up a bucket. You want to hold on to this lead at the end. But the last thing you want to give up is an and-1, too. You see that happen all too frequently at the end of these games, kind of indecision on the defensive end.
Interesting. Rob Blumen's going to send 2 guys who have not seen a ton of time in this game. Mina Yakub and Kyle Snowden. Neither guy has seen a ton of time this year. Snowden only averages 15.7 minutes a game. Yakub averages 13.6. But both of those guys are going to see some time here. Snowden, a junior college transfer out of Cabrillo Community College. Mina Yakub was on the roster a season ago, did not play. Those 2 will be out there with Brandon Rembert, the team's leading scorer. Jamonte Thompson and Michael Blake Green. They're going to have to go the full length of the court. The Beacons will have a little bit of full court pressure. And now we're going to stoppage. And Blake Green is going to have to come off. I don't know if he's bleeding or if he's got jewelry on, but right now he's taking off the bandage. And he'll just come off the floor. Thompson trying to find a wide open player in the corner. That was Anthony Kellum, and that's a nice job by the Beacons swatting that one out of bounds with 6.6 left.
Big-time hands right there by Sinelli.
We're going to see Boyd replace Hawkins. With no Blake Green, you don't necessarily need a big guy, and the Beacons will use their timeout. Looked like Blake Green was potentially bleeding. His bandage was coming off, so they had to pull him. And that's big because on a missed shot, Blake Green's one of your better rebounders on a potential putback with 6.6 seconds left.
Yeah, especially in a 2-point game, too. You always got to watch for the big guy for the dump off, the easy basket. Sometimes when the clock is running down, you're always looking for that first player to take the shot. You don't realize how much time there is left.
Still 6.6 seconds remaining. Both teams in the double bonus, so a foul on the Beacons would lead to 2 free throws for Fishers. Rob Blumen right now is organizing his troops. Jason Harris trying to get back to his 3rd straight Harbor Invite championship game. He's never won one. The Beacons have won 8 overall, but have not won since 2012, this annual Thanksgiving tournament. Remember, we'll have game 2 for you as well, starting about 30 minutes after the conclusion of game number 1. Bridgewater State and Emerson, 2 local teams who will be vying for Harbor Invite glory. For UMass Boston, they're going to go small. Charlie and Charles Mitchell, Dason Sinelli's the 5, I say in parentheses. Michael Boyd and Iser Barnes. And they're going to send the Beacons group back to their own bench. The 3 referees are talking something over. I'm not quite sure what the discussion is here. The ball was clearly off UMass Boston. The time looks right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if a Fisher player tried to call a timeout. I think they're out of timeouts, correct?
I believe that Fisher is out of timeouts. Right now they're talking at the scorer's table between the scoreboard operator, Hugh Nguyen, and the official book, Maggie Parker. And, of course, if you don't have a timeout and you try to call one, the infamous Chris Webber play when he was on that Fab 5 team at Michigan, it is a technical foul.
Yeah, I thought when they first broke back to the huddle there, I saw Coach Harris jump up. He looked a little upset about something. I'm not sure if that's it.
The Beacons definitely had 1 left the last time they used a timeout. Right now, Rob Blumen is talking to one of our 3 officials. Jeff, I think you might be right here. He's incredulous. Could be a discussion about fouls as well. And now it looks like the referee has turned his decision here. Jason Harris is now the upset coach, standing with hands on his hips there in the back of the shot. Both coaches are going to have a discussion with the referee, but I think this one is going to end up staying with Fisher. So with a long distraction like this, how does this alter either side's focus and momentum? I mean, we're talking about the crucial play of the game with 6.6 seconds left.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't affect it at all. I don't think it should. Coach Harris, I'm sure, set their defense up here. They're going to execute that the best they can. I think you'll see all 5 guys switch everything on the inbound here. Again, that goes back to that defensive versatility we talked about at the beginning.
Thompson is the inbounder. He's got Kellum out there along with Snowden, Rembert, and Yakub. Yakub's asking for the pick from Rembert for the Beacons. Boyd is on the ball. Sinelli out there with the Mitchells. And Barnes. Barnes on the ball against Thompson. Thompson looking to drive. Stripped by Barnes, and it's out of bounds off Fisher with 2.2 left.
And we talked about it early in the second half. That's what Iser does. He gets in front. He moves his feet very, very well. Big, strong kid. That's a great play. Big-time defensive play.
Ty Lee back in there, 2.2 seconds left. This game is not over. The Beacons need to get the ball in and potentially hit one more free throw. Sinelli able to find Charlie Mitchell. 1.3 seconds left. If he can knock down 1, the game is all but over. If he knocks down 2, the game is certainly over as Charlie Mitchell runs down the court. First one into the offensive end, and Charlie will have a chance to close out the Falcons.
I can tell you that's what I love about these two Mitchell twins is they love these moments. They love the opportunity. They've spoken very openly about winning championships here. They're not afraid of it.
They won 2 state titles at New Mission High School. Charlie takes his time and drains the first. Last year in the state quarterfinals, maybe it was the state sectional semifinals, was one of the Mitchell twins, I believe Charles, who missed a free throw with his team down by 3 at Arlington in a game that New Mission ended up losing and ending their senior season. But Charlie able to knock down both. It's a 4-point game with 1.3 left. The long heave, Rembert the catch, a chance to cut into it. The Beacons end up winning 61-57. Jeff, it was a game that we kind of expected, and a game that the Beacons, despite their youth, able to close out. A really good sign for Jason Harris' side.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to win some games in lopsided fashion because of their talent, but these are the games I think speak a lot more about who you are and who you're going to be. Being able to grind these out, defend at the end of games, make big-time shots, big-time free throws. We saw some really good things at the end of this game.
We're going to head down to court level, have an interview with head coach Jason Harris. Then we'll bring you the second half highlights and give a shout-out to our production crew who had to do a little bit more technical work than they normally would. And then we'll close it out here on our first of 2 broadcasts today.
My name is Albie Daly. I'm from Able Park, New York. I'm a forward on the UMass Boston men's hockey team, and my current major is exercise and health sciences. Being a member of the men's hockey team is a tremendous honor just because being able to play collegiate sport while pursuing my dreams of becoming a physical therapist and studying what I'd like to in school means a lot. My favorite memory as a member of the men's hockey team would probably be a big goal that I scored last year, the NCAA quarterfinals. ECAC's quarterfinals against University of New England.
What a turn in momentum!
Just because it was a big boost for both myself and our team moving forward.
Perfect shot right there over the shoulder of the goaltender Trost.
Frozen Fenway was just our outdoor game at Fenway Park, and it was a tremendous experience. I think both for me and the guys on the team and the program as a whole. But we got to see the Red Sox locker room, which was an awesome experience, and just being at Fenway Park when you go to school in Boston is second to none, really, and that's what you look for, when you're trying to experience collegiate athletics, and it's a really cool thing to be a part of. Being a student athlete at UMass Boston is a tremendous honor just because it gives you the chance to really focus on your studies in a great academic environment while pursuing what you want athletically, so it's a pretty powerful thing.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than...
Joined by head coach Jason Harris. Coach, pivotal play of the game. It's Iser Barnes against Jamonte Thompson. He's given up size, and yet he's able to get that huge strip. He's a guy who wants more playing time. He has to earn it. How big is that for one of your leaders to come up with a stop like that?
Listen, Iser's a competitor. He's a physical defender. Sometimes he pushes it a little bit on offense, and, he's really pushing my patience. But at the end of the game, we know Iser's going to be out there on the floor just as a competitor. I'm happy for him as a senior. Came into camp a little bit out of shape, but again, he's a competitor. I'm just really happy for him tonight.
This is back-to-back games this week that you've had to close out really tight games, had to hit some free throws late. How is that going to help your team long-term?
Seth, we have a combined age of like 11 and a half. So hopefully we remember today's lesson tomorrow. Obviously, you don't remember me making fun of your suit coat and your tie, but it's a little better this time.
Looking at tomorrow, this isn't your first Harbor Invite Championship game, but you're still looking for that first title. What have you learned the last 2 years about the turnaround that might help you going into tomorrow?
Well, it's a really tough thing, going from a game one night and then having to play the next morning. But it's a tournament atmosphere. You got to be ready to play the next day. We've already got the scouts for both teams done. So the one thing we do have on our side is youth, hopefully a little bit, fresh legs, being so young and 18 and 19 years old. And we didn't play as a lot of guys tonight, so look for some different faces tomorrow, maybe a Dennis or a Bernard. You never know.
Coach, thanks so much for your time.
Happy Thanksgiving to my wife and to my son.
We'll head back up top right now, take a look at the highlights from that second half, and then we'll close it out up on the Beacons Broadcast Network booth up top.
Seth, that's that 2-3 zone that they're sitting in right
by the smaller Bernard Taylor in transition. Charlie finds Charles, the scoop free game this season. Charles Mitchell tries again. This time, Boyd long on the three, and then Sinelli can't get the rebound. Tavares in transition. Great layoff for Kellum, and the easy tip driving. Up top for Blake Green. Back to Rembert on the smaller Charles Mitchell. The fadeaway. Beautiful little move, but Lee able to track it down. He's pushing the pace right now. Leaves it for Barnes, the wide open lay-in, and the B table with his legs stretched out. He is back up in front of the Fisher bench. Chance to get with Boston right now. Mitchell from the corner, looking to drive and gets it out for his brother Charles, who drains it. It's the shot blocked there. Coming in, and it's Mitchell who's blocked. Hawkins grabs it, and it's in. The shot.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
Welcome back for the final time here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Jeff Ebbs. Jeff, the Beacons inevitably made it harder than it had to be, but another win where it ended up going down to the last possession. UMass Boston getting the stop. Iser Barnes, really nice words there from Jason Harris on a player that sometimes Jason Harris is in love with how he plays, and sometimes he infuriates him. But that's a huge play, especially for a guy who came in out of shape and who wants more playing time. That's how you get it.
Yeah, and that's Iser in a nutshell. I've known him for a few years now, and I've always kind of described him as being a 50-50 player where he'll make some plays that make you scratch your head a little bit, but he can also do things that nobody else on the court can do. Particularly with this group, we have a lot of offensive talent, but there's not too many guys that can do exactly what he did. Square up, get your body in front of you, have great hands, and make the biggest play of the game.
Against a really good scorer, Jamonte Thompson, though, 7 points in the first half, the leading scorer for Fisher, 0 points in the second half. They went to him, their go-to scorer on the last play, unable to convert his. Barnes was not only able to get there, but stripped it away, and the Beacons ended up with possession of the ball. Kevin Lewis-Jean and Charles Mitchell, the Beacons' leading scorers, 12 points apiece, 5 points and 7 assists from Ty Lee. UMass Boston got 6 rebounds from Bernard Taylor and Dayson Sinelli. On the other side, 15 from Brandon Rembert, continues to be the leading scorer for Fisher. 12 from Malik Tavares off the bench, 10 from Anthony Kellum. And one of those key stats for UMass Boston this year, they had 20 turnovers in 2 games coming in, 11 turnovers in this one. That is such a promising side for a Beacons team that looks to push the pace, and when you push the pace, you typically see turnovers.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable that they're averaging 10 a game right now. And, I said at the beginning, I don't think that's necessarily sustainable, but if they get it 12, 13, 15, that's pretty good. That's going to keep them in a lot of games. And like you just said, to be able to play the style that they want to play and keep the turnovers low, that by itself is going to keep you in a lot of close games.
On the other side, Fisher with 24 turnovers. The Beacons ending up with a 20-10 lead in points off turnovers. Big part of that 4-point win. Right now we're going to take a chance to thank our staff. There's no graphic like we normally have, but I think I know who helped out. Gigi Braggett, Charlie Hughey, and Alex Gibbs directing and doing instant replay, doing a great job. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Jeff Ebbs. A phenomenal job for our first-time color commentator. Hopefully
you,
won't be the last time. Our camera operators, Roxanne Bento, Marcelo Cunha, and Cassie Murphy, all doing a great job here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. UMass Boston will play at 3 tomorrow. They'll play the winner of this game upcoming. You see them just on your screen right now warming up. It's Emerson College and Bridgewater State. We'll have that broadcast for you with no audio, but we'll still have, hopefully, graphics, and we'll have picture and replay right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network coming up in about 10 minutes.